In this, I want to go over what I hope for. I hope to stay alive a little longer so I can continue doing God's work. I hope I don't freeze to death and die of exposure just because our society is selfish and greedy. I hope I can continue working and I can continue using my body, eventually getting better and getting my body back where I can run around again. I'm hoping to stay indoors. I am praying and hoping that my father will follow Jesus someday and actually give a fuck about his family, including his responsibilities, because he did bring me into this family. And I have given my health, my soul, my strength. I've given my education. I've given my own. I mean, if I was left in the orphanage, I would have never got food poisoning. I would have never lost my education. I never would have been poisoned by a crazy mother. I never would have had all this lies on my medical records. I would have been able to drive, so I would have a car or have a license today. I would have been able to stay in the programs and use one of their programs to move forward, like I've seen some of the other orphans I grew up did. What's kind of funny is that a lot of the kids who grew up straight in the orphanages and never got into foster care or adoption, the ones that stayed in the programs, today they're driving around working a job, they have their own apartment. But the orphans that went into foster care or got adopted, they're living in tents in Lowell on the street. Jasmine, Catherine, Katie. Katie's one I don't mention often because she's off and on. But we got Jasmine, Katie. We have the girl I knew who I didn't grow up with, but I know that she was brought to this country. She wasn't an orphan. That's Angly Beth. We got Gabby. So we got Gabby, Jasmine, Katie. I went to high school. They all came from orphanages. They all were adopted or were in foster care. Yes, Katie was adopted. Yes, Gabby was adopted. Yes, Jasmine was a foster daughter. And me, I was adopted. All of us ended up living in tents on the street, being over-medicated. All of us, before we were even 15 years old, went to mental institutions, got held down, and had drugs that made us high forced upon us. I'm not kidding. You take an injection of Thorazine, Seroquel, and Trazodone all together and try to walk or talk without feeling wrecked high like you took 100 Percocet. Literally, if you take a mix of high doses of Thorazine and Seroquel, just by themselves, those two, you will be so high, you'll feel like you did the biggest shot of heroin you ever took and you're about to OD. That's how strong these drugs are. They get children high as a kite, make it sometimes, like if you take Thorazine, Trazodone, and Seroquel at bedtime, like I did, and your parents like to give it to you early, like I did, it doesn't matter, because you will still wake up in the morning hungover from those medications. Your heart will race as you try to go to sleep. You'll get a sinking depression feeling as a side effect from the medications. You will start getting hungry, but you can't get out of bed because your legs don't work and you're dizzy and you'll fall, because you're so goddamn drowsy. I mean, there were times where a staff member told me I wasn't allowed to leave my bed because I looked like I was going to fall down from my medication. I'm not kidding. I tried to use the bathroom in a program at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and the medication was so strong they told me I'm not allowed to use the restroom because I might fall, and they don't want to call an ambulance tonight, so stay in your bed, they told me. That's fucking wrong. I wasn't allowed to use the fucking restroom because my mother wants me on crazy pills. I have a right to use the restroom. But yet the program tells me because I'm so fucked up on these pills my mother has me on that I should stay in my bed because I look dizzy and like I'm about to fall. You know what? I also was so high on my regular meds, these night meds, one time I took my night meds. My mother started screaming at me to go to bed while I'm looking for something so I don't get in trouble at the program the following day. I was supposed to get the codes to a remote because the staff member says this universal remote belongs to the program or belong to some other kid or belong to somebody else. And the only way to prove it was to get the manual. I asked if my parents could call. They said, do your parents have the manual? Well, they can call, but that doesn't prove anything. And I'm like, great. The other orphan has no parents, so he can't do this. So that's not fair. I need the proof. I need a receipt or the booklet that goes with it. So when I'm home, I'm looking for the booklet for 2 days straight. My mother threw it away, I find out later. My mother doesn't want to tell me she threw it away. My father just wants to get drunk with a martini. My mother's getting drunk with a martini as I go through this whole giant house looking for one small little thing so I'm not punished on Monday. Anyways, my mother starts screaming at me, getting in my face. She's the one who gave me these drugs in the first place. She's the reason why the program is punishing me all the time for taking my regular medication. This is fucking ridiculous. I'm getting punished because you guys are drugging me. I'm drooling in the morning. I'm having heart palpitations. I'm complaining about side effects to staff members, my mother, the school, my doctor, and nobody's doing anything about it. My mother gave me a goddamn overdose in Westford, and nobody seems to give a motherfuck. I can't feel my body. My body is numb. My legs are moving by themselves. I'm twitchy. I have tics. I'm falling down at random times every 4 years and going unconscious. Things are going on that I just don't understand. And my mother wants me to just, get into more trouble. I'm supposed to go, and this has happened millions of times before. I listen to my mother. My mother says, go to bed, so I go to bed. My mother says, take all these pills. I take all these pills. Then the next morning, I'm in big trouble. My health, I'm vomiting, I'm sick, and the program is punishing me, telling me I did something wrong because I didn't look through the house because I listened to my mother. This happens all the time. I listen to my mother, and I'm sick, hurt, and in trouble, all because I listened to my mother. I know that the program is who I'm supposed to be listening to. The program told me I need this notebook. I need the code book. I know that this was put in this little bin by the living room, but the bin, it's not in. The bin has been cleaned out by my mother. So where could this be? I looked through the whole house. My mother says, I didn't throw it away. I did not throw it away, Zach. Well, it's been here for 5 days, you've cleaned the house, and now it's not here. But I don't care about that. That happens. I do that sometimes. My new roommate did that. He throws away money. He throws away medicine. I've seen my roommate throw away the damn rent before. Yes, my roommate threw away $300 in rent before, and I had to dig through the trash. Yes, my roommate does that too. My mother used to do that. I mean, she threw away my most favorite toy when I was living in Westford. When I was living in Westford, I got this solid gold Pokemon card that had a nice stand with a Pokeball in it. I went to school one day and I came home and it was gone like somebody stole it off my bureau. I went nuts looking for it. I find out that my mother threw it away. I asked, why'd you throw it away? It was on my bureau all pretty looking. My mother says it was because I didn't clean my room. Now, for one, my room was clean. It was just the bed wasn't made. Also, I was 6 years old. I was 6, and my mother is throwing away my belongings because my room isn't clean enough. Taking stuff off my bureau and throwing it in a trash can. My most prized possessions. I mean, goddamn, she's even taking away my swimming medals and calling me a liar, a thief, and trying to make up mental illnesses. She's fucking with my head. She definitely wanted to fuck with my head. My mother wanted me to become mental. But the problem is, I was so intelligent, I was able to figure out what my mother was telling me was wrong. I was able to figure out that my mother taking my swimming medal away, that's her problem. That's her acting like a crazy person. My mother throwing away my most prized possessions when I'm only 6 years old, that's her problem. That's her acting crazy. My mother giving me a handful of medications, and then I lose the ability to see out of my eyeballs. I lose the ability to talk and use my tongue. I lose the ability to stand up or walk. I lose the ability to breathe properly. I start going unconscious. I get to a pile of newspapers. My mother says, "These medical professionals don't know what they're talking about. Hang up, beep." And then you find out because they told her to bring me to the emergency room. So my mother didn't want to do that and left me to die on the pile of newspapers. I went unconscious and I woke up with a permanent problem with my nervous system. Still today, at the age of 31, I still have severe problems with my nervous system. So severe that they call it full-blown seizures on the side of the road, where I wake up covered in blood with cars running over my hair, about to hit my head like a blueberry. So bad, in fact, that I have had seizures on the sidewalk of Lowell that bloodied up my whole body in front of witnesses, where ambulances have to rush me to the hospital. And these have been recorded in Lowell. A lot of them haven't been recorded because my mother and father wanted to hide them. They wanted to hide my illness. So they put me in places where they weren't going to get reported. Like in New Mexico, I had a seizure outside while playing during winter. But nobody ever reported even the fact that they left me out in the cold for 3 hours while all the other kids were inside. That I was unmonitored, had no supervision, and I was the only kid left outside unconscious. I don't know if they ever reported that to my parents or not, but it happened. It happened. I don't know, probably not. These programs were doing horror. I mean, did they report that an African American man was choking the children on the choking couch with their own arms? No. They would say he was giving them a restraint. Well, yes, some of the staff members were giving kids restraints. That's where you hold the arms over the belly and you just hold them there. You don't pull. You don't pull on them, and you also keep it around the chest. But if you are taking a 6-year-old boy or a 9-year-old girl or an 8-year-old girl that is naked in the shower, or a boy that is outside in a t-shirt, literally, oh, like me, only weighs 60 pounds, and you have a 300-pound African American, that leg is as thick as our whole body. This is a big, big, big guy. I mean, muscles that are bigger than our whole bodies. And he grabs each arm that he probably could use his thumb and his index finger to grab the whole arm. He's so big and strong compared to these little 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds. And then he brings the arms around the neck and then pulls on you. Pulls until you hear cricks and cracks, until you get bruises in where your sockets are supposed to be, where your joints are. Yes, people were getting bruises on the shoulder from so hard it was being pulled. They almost looked like stretch marks sometimes. They were like bruises that kind of were like weird shaped. Not only this, where he was grabbing on the ankles and on the arms were bruises because he had to squeeze so much to choke you and cut off your air supply, as well as this was extremely painful. And he would do this on a regular basis. He would choke you because you didn't drink the rotten milk. Yes, the fridge would break. You would pour the milk and chunks would come out of the milk. You would say, "I don't want to drink the chunky milk. That has chunks in it. I know it's no good." He says he's going to choke you if you don't. So you take a sip. It's sour. You start getting sick to your stomach. You drink a quarter of the rotten milk and you say, "I can't drink anymore. Look at the floaties. It's chung. It's sour." Then he sniffs it and goes, "Ooh, that's sour, but I don't care. You guys got to drink it. There's no choice. They don't have anything in the manual about you guys skipping meals because the food went rotten. So you guys eat it." So then a lot of us say no. So the African American chokes us one by one on the choking couch. Yeah, my father was okay with this. My father was fine with this, putting me in a program with no supervision while I have seizures in the woods. Right after, in Westford, I told him that I had a problem, that I lost my eyesight, I lost the ability to walk, I lost the ability to talk, and I'm still struggling with these whatever the fuck this is. I want to know what this is. We're at the doctor's. This is the most important thing that ever happened in my life. It's changed my life forever. I'm bringing it up in front of my father and my mother. The doctor is concerned. He wants to know what's going on. So the doctor asked my mother, what medication was he on that night? I don't know. I don't remember. Oh, well, what happened that night? It was an allergy to the combination of meds. What combination? I don't know. We're keeping him on the meds he's on. What? Did something happen that night? Yeah, it was just an allergy attack. I don't want to talk about it anymore. And then eventually she just buries the conversation where I'm not allowed to talk about it anymore. I need help. I need medical help from a neurologist. And this should have been documented 25 years ago. But my father cares so little about me and my well-being that he let his second wife not only try to kill and maim and make disabled an orphan. Yes, she wanted a dog, a pet. So she went and adopted a child and treated that human being like a dog. And also worse than an animal. You're not allowed to poison animals. But yet my mother was allowed to poison me right in front of other people. She poisoned me in front of my father. People saw this. People heard her talk about it. She even bragged about giving me extra Ipecac as a punishment. She was very open about all these extra medications I was on. And she was very open about her storytelling about making up mental illnesses. So now I am suffering. I can't even get out of my own bed. I'm trying to go into the kitchen to go in the bathroom. I literally shook horribly last night. Horribly. So bad that I couldn't even get to the restroom when I needed to. I had to do 2 hours of physical therapy of just some stretches. I shouldn't call it. I had to stretch my muscles and my nervous system out for hours before I can really walk straight to the bathroom. I have to do a squat walk with a cane. And yes, even before this, even during childhood, I couldn't drive a car. My leg would bounce out of control. And the only time I could drive a bike really, really good is during summer. When it was warm out, when it's above 60 degrees, I do okay. I still have seizures with noise, touch, flashing lights, but cold is one of the things that set it off worst. I have full-blown seizures and I lose the ability to speak and move my body in the cold. If I get think of it this way, if you get a shiver, what happens to your